Welcome back, everyone. I hope you're having a great time so far at RealtyOn. Our next panel features industry visionaries unveiling the future of real estate investment opportunities through data-driven insights and game-changing technologies. Please welcome on stage the moderator, Michael Tyrimos, Managing Director at Capacito Partners, who will introduce the panel of PropTech unlocking new investment opportunities. Michael, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Despina. Welcome, everyone. I understand that our panel is right after lunch break, so I hope no one falls asleep, and I hope it's interesting enough. So I'm Michael Tyrimos. Today we're going to talk about PropTech and its impact on investments. With me, I have experts from various sectors of the real estate construction industry. Nicolas Michalias from M Residence in real estate and as an agent, the CEO of M Residence. Niki Tsividanu, who is the head of product and co-founder at Askwire, specializing in big data and analytics. George Chrysochos, CEO at Cyfield, energy and construction, and Angelos Nicolaou, sector built construction technology and software as a service. Welcome. So we are gonna ask 2 rounds of questions. The first round will focus on the international markets and its trends, and the second round will focus on the local market in Cyprus. So, Nicolas, I will start with you. So, given the evolving technologies and automations in the real estate industry and the recent ability to use AI to act as your agent, for example, you can now use Zillow as a plugin in ChatGPT. What is your point of view on the future of real estate agents? Will these developments enhance their productivity and reach or threaten them?
Hello, Michalis, and thank you for the intro. If you listen to the noise going on about GPT, you might come to the conclusion that we will all be replaced by robots next month. But can you tell GPT, hey GPT, sell this house? Or hey GPT, find a buyer? Or go to the land registry tomorrow? No. So we have to remember that 100% of the parties in the transaction are humans. Simply stated, artificial intelligence is not human and cannot connect to a person on an emotional level. Buying or selling a house is an emotional transaction. Technology and AI are here to help us focus on the more meaningful parts of our job. It is not here to replace us. Yes, the new business models do suggest that the way people buy and sell real estate, it's evolving, but it is not changing. The agent is and will always be central to the transaction for 3 key reasons. Take home buyer first. How can probably the largest transaction in someone's life not be led by a real estate agent? Buyers need information explained in a way relevant to them and only them. Their financial credit standing and the current laws are not the only variables, but their current state of mind, their level of stress, and their appetite for risk are also very important. No AI on this planet can assess all these matters together and respond immediately. Secondly, a real estate agent is the one calling the shots for AI and PropTech to operate, run campaigns, and reach out the target audience, not vice versa. And third, market trends and potential go beyond data analytics and numbers. They lie in conversations, in relationships, and how leaders decide to shape the market. So the agent have the opportunity to shape the future through future talks, not historical data only. The agent's risk is certainly not technology. And to clearly answer your question, agents, yes, are getting replaced, but not by AI. They are getting replaced by other, smarter, tech-oriented agents. So if you want to be the real estate agent of the future, you can't stand still and do nothing. You have to pick the right horse. You have to pick the right team. Are you stuck with the traditional agents or the next generation agents?
Thank you very much, Nicola. That was very insightful. And it's true that there have been studies by EY and the World Economic Forum and so forth showcasing the importance of the human factor like reciprocity, leadership, critical thinking in a world that is becoming more automated. So the human elements that you emphasize in making and closing a deal are very important indeed. Now, moving on to Nikki to talk about data analytics and big data in general. How has the use of big data analytics in real estate shaped investment strategies and decision-making?
Sure. Thank you, Michali. So today, I would like to bring a fresh perspective to our discussion about the role of big data in PropTech. And more specifically, I would like to focus on 3 key areas that have truly revolutionized the real estate industry. First is the power of data in decision-making. Tools like our real estate dynamics, for example, can monitor transactions and asking prices in real time. This data helps investors identify investment opportunities and make better decisions. For example, they can spot undervalued properties by spotting properties that are listed at considerably lower prices than similar ones at the same area. Now, let's move on to sustainability, a very hot topic today, which is at the forefront of the global agenda. The EU's Green Deal aims to mobilize 1 trillion euros in investment by 2030 to make it climate neutral by 2050. So it's more than just a commitment to our environment. It is also a significant investment opportunity. Using big data, we can identify properties that are suitable for energy upgrades. Such upgrades can increase the value of the property, reduce the monthly bills, and make it more attractive to today's eco-conscious tenants. And lastly, the Internet of Things integration for user-centric experiences. The big data can go beyond traditional real estate concerns, as it has the power to enhance the user experience. By using Internet of Things technology, we can connect the house with the user and providing more personalized experiences. Just like Netflix recommends movies based on your viewing habits, imagine a smart house that can automatically adjust cooling, heating, based on your daily routine and schedule. This level of personalization can boost the values and rental incomes. So, in conclusion, the role of big data is reshaping the decision-making and investment decisions, marking a new era of smart, sustainable, and successful investing. Thank you.
That's very interesting indeed, and we're not talking about a future far, far away. We're talking about now. The Internet of Things and the interconnected devices are in all houses, starting from the most basic ones. Who has a robotic vacuum cleaner here? Raise your hands. Here we go. To everything about measuring energy efficiency and so forth. So we're heading towards a data-driven future. George, let's move on to construction. In your view, how can investments in PropTech tools improve efficiency and reduce costs in construction, thereby making real estate projects more profitable?
Yes, so PropTech is usually discussed around the commercial side of real estate, which is sales, investigating, buying, contracts, etc. But we are focused more on the construction side, the hands-on, which is a very, very difficult industry to talk about technology. It's one of the slowest changing industries in the world. I'm talking about pure construction now. much slower than what we wanted. I mean, if you look at photos and videos of how the Empire State Building was built in the United States, it's almost identical to what we're doing today, 100 years after. So the reasons are many. The most basic one is the personnel which make up this industry. I mean, you see people working in the sites are not the most advanced technologically knowledgeable people. There's people who don't have smartphones, who don't even have emails. So it makes the implementation of technology on site extremely difficult. There are some huge software and programs like building information modeling and other similar products which they integrate everything. In a construction, they do the so-called 5D, which is basically adjusting the drawings and the whole structure with the schedule and the resources and the cost associated with the building or the project. However, these things are extremely costly and they require very high maintenance. So in Cyprus, projects are small. I mean, most developers are dealing with small houses, office buildings, apartment buildings. So they don't really justify these heavy investments into software, in complicated softwares like BIM or even complicated procurement softwares like ERP, etc. So just to give you an indexation, the last project that we were required to do BIM, which we tendered for, it was a 75 million euro project in Cyprus, and the cost for maintaining and buying the software was 2% of the whole project. So during negotiation phase, what the owner said is, okay, how can I reduce my price? Take off the BIM requirement. That was the easiest one to go away. So that's the problem with construction and technology. So what we are saying always, all these amazing tools should be small and adjustable to the current situation in the Cyprus market. They should be segmented, not integrated. So maybe one software for health and safety, one software for the sketch, one for the cost. Easy to implement. Imagine a guy working in the summer in Cyprus. It's 40 degrees. There is noise. There is dust. It's not the ideal condition. And probably he doesn't know much about technology. We're expecting these guys to input data. So these things have to be easy to implement and not to push them. Like the training has to be extremely simple. So as I said earlier, the way to push this implementation for the technology, all these amazing technology tools that we're discussing, is also for the government to support. How the government supports in this. The majority of construction activity in Cyprus is implemented by government, either through infrastructure projects or other building projects. They do not require any reporting or any scheduling or programming through software. Therefore, in order to be competitive in a very tough environment, with competition between contractors, we always skip any technological requirement or any investment in technology. Once the government starts requiring from the industry, from those who are dealing with government projects, these technologies, then it will be easily extrapolated even in the private sector. So it will be easier for a private developer to require this from their own contractor. So therefore, we need to always think the practical side of things in order to implement these amazing technologies that exist around.
And taking this constructive feedback on software in the PropTech space, we are moving on to the software provider. So, Angele, through Sector Build, you've evaluated hundreds of projects worldwide. Can you identify a few key trends or technological standouts that investors in the space should be aware of?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, Mihaly, thank you for inviting us and for putting this great panel together. So I guess the answer to your question has to be evidence-based, and the evidence is always in the outcome, right? We started our company in 2018 with the goal to digitize construction and real estate in Europe and the Middle East. And in 5 years, most of our revenue has been a result of AI-based technologies. So these are not just buzzwords, AI, machine learning. They actually bring results back to our customers, right, and value. And in particular, we see AI being a very hot trend right now in 3 key areas. Number 1 is sales. So any technology that helps shorten the sales cycle. Number 2 is anything that has to do with increasing transparency during the construction process. So like George was mentioning earlier, any technology that gives you visuals, evidence during construction that helps you have eyes on your project, control your contractors or your subcontractors, that's really valuable. And lastly, anything that helps you control and increase your profit margins. So shorten the sales cycle, increase transparency, increase your profit margins. Hopefully soon we will start to see technologies being implemented during the permitting process of the government. That seems to be something that takes a while. It's frustrating to customers. Projects are slow to develop because of that. But we're very happy to see the investments that are going into that space and the progress in adoption that's taking place right now.
Transparency is very key, especially if you can monitor the end-to-end process, and that's where big data comes in as well. Now, moving on to the second round of questions, focusing on the local market in Cyprus. Nicola, before you mentioned that the real enemy of a real estate agent is an agent who's technologically equipped. We've seen a number of emerging technologies happening that are one way or another disrupting or changing the landscape of the real estate ecosystem. How is that so, and how does it apply in Cyprus, to Cyprus?
Look, what is really happening out there is that history is repeating itself, but with different players and different models. In the real estate industry, venture capitalists are investing billions into the space, and they have invented hundreds of new models in order to change the way people buy and sell real estate. The biggest disruption in real estate is the financial disruption. Big real estate portals around the world are moving from just display listings in a website, and they are getting closer to the transaction. It is not about the house anymore. It's about the transaction. And why? To tap new revenue pools in finance, in mortgages, in insurance, in agents' commission, and overall to provide a better client experience. So as these big disruptors are getting bigger and gain market power, they are moving from an open ecosystem to a series of walled gardens, like the video streaming services Netflix, Apple TV, Disney, that are spending billions generating their own exclusive content to get consumers subscribe on their platform. The same thing is happening in real estate. Big disruptors are trying to build their own exclusive content through exclusive listings that you can see them only on their platform. The scale is different in each country, but the trends and the themes are the same. Now, as Cyprus market is becoming more global, and especially if the Schengen agreement is ever signed, things will open even more for the real estate expansion in Cyprus. So when people in this room ask what the role of agents is going to be, one must remember, the agents must compete where they can win. They have to do the non-scalable hard work, the relationships, the communication, providing a level of trust and support that technology alone cannot replicate. In 2023, customer service is our biggest opportunity to make an impact. To conclude, it's easy to look around and think that everything is changing overnight, or that nothing is changing. This is the greatest risk for traditional realtors, thinking that they are winning, but in reality, they are dying so slowly. In a nutshell, compete where you can win.
It's very interesting to see how technology, like every case, is cutting horizontally using business model and practices that are happening in other services like video streaming, actually impacting real estate in the same way. And the walled gardens that you mentioned was also a model that became prominent when the first pre-internet companies were created, like American Online. Now, moving to Niki, before you talked about the houses of tomorrow or today, that they're data-driven and they help us decide what's best and where to invest. So can you illustrate some cases where big data has uncovered a previously overlooked investment opportunity in the real estate market in Cyprus?
Sure. So I will share 3 examples that our company, Asquire, has used big data in order to uncover previously overlooked investment opportunities in Cyprus. The first example is the liquidity score we have developed that shows how quickly a property can be sold. We use data such as sales volume, population, and building stock. So we have used this liquidity score in order to perform an analysis in the Nicosia district to identify the most liquid areas for apartments. And we found something interesting, that apartments in Nicosia and Strovolos municipalities were the most liquid across all price ranges. And additionally, apartments in Aglangia and Engomi were also liquid, but we noted a liquidity and decrease in the liquidity score for properties above 250,000 euros. We can use this information to identify properties in high demand and to also understand the risks associated with these investments. Now, let's move our focus to Limassol, where we have performed an analysis using building ages across the island. For this analysis, we have used data for more than 52,000 structures, and we found a clear trend. Older buildings are more concentrated in the city center and surrounding municipalities, surrounding areas, while newer buildings are observed on the outskirts. This information is not only valuable for investors who want to identify suitable properties for renovation and redevelopment. It is also important for banking institutions that want this data in order to generate new business and offer new loans. And now, the last example is how we track the new construction activity across the island. Every month, we analyze data from the Land Registry and Department of Environment to identify where new construction projects are starting. And with this information, we help insurance companies, but also businesses involved in the supply chain, like construction material suppliers, that can use this data in order to focus their marketing and sales efforts more effectively. So we provide this data to them in order for them to find their clients. So these are only 3 examples of how we use big data to identify previously overlooked investment opportunities in Cyprus. If you want to know more, let's connect after the panel discussion. Thank you.
I was about to ask that because it's very impressive what you and your company are doing. If someone wants to access this data or process this data through your platform, do they just sign up to your website? How can they do that?
Yes, there are 2 ways. They can do it from our website, but in any case, there are 2 ways. The first one is DAS, Data as a Service, where they can access our data via an API. And the second is SaaS, Software as a Service, where they can see this data on a mapping tool that we have developed.
It's called RED, right?
It's called RED.
Yeah, that's
Real
impressive.
Estate Dynamics, yep.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Niki. George, before you mentioned that more or less we're 100 years behind, or we match the same practices that were going on in 100 years ago in terms of building. So my question is, how is PropTech contributing to more sustainable construction practices, and what are the potential returns for investors from this use of more sustainable practices through the use of technology? And then how and to what extent does this apply to Cyprus, if it does?
So starting from the last bit, it definitely applies to Cyprus due to our climate. We live in a very hot Mediterranean country, so energy efficiency and sustainability is very important. Also, we live in a country where resources are very scarce. We import 90% of the construction materials. The only thing we produce here is stone, sand, and cement. Everything else is imported. Therefore, using technology to identify the suitable materials or making an energy efficient building is extremely vital. And we are on a good progress, I should say. I was a little bit more pessimistic on the previous question, but this one, Cyprus industry is taking huge steps towards sustainability and environmentally friendly homes. We are using, every house now has PV, you have PV panels on top. We're doing good installations. We've changed our aluminum and glass specifications in most cases. There's new things coming in like water recycling. We're doing, there is some integration between batteries or electric cars in the houses. So we do have smart homes applications which they can give energy feedback to the owner, for example, which zones and which areas to turn on or turn off the AC or lights. And also it has an AI system involved, an artificial intelligence, which even if you forget an air condition on in a certain area, it knows when you were there or what times you were there. It uses your habits to basically operate on its own. So these things are happening in Cyprus. Of course, they cost a little bit, but the people are getting more and more environmentally conscious, but also understand the monetary aspect, the monetary benefits of green buildings. A simple example will be an apartment with 200 euros per month rent. Imagine if they save 2,000 euros per month rent, if they were saving 200 euros per month on electricity bill. That increases the yield by 10%. It's a very extremely simple mathematics, and you can see the immediate effect of doing more sustainable and more environmentally friendly homes. Recently, to give you more happy news on the subject, recently EAC announced, finally after 10 years of efforts, the installation of smart meters. It's a huge step towards environmental efficiency. Now the regulator and the transmission system operator will have knowledge of the consumption of the hourly and daily consumption of each house in order to also adjust both prices of electricity and also do the so-called demand response, which is basically using some big consumers to balance the grid, and that will definitely help the whole electricity market and reduce our electricity bills. And this again comes from homes, from the patterns in consumption of homes. So there's a few things that were said before, which I wanted to touch upon. The one is what Nikki said about big data used by banks. Let's not forget that PropTech also involves fintechs. And it's not related to the question, but I wanted to make a comment on it. Alternative financing in real estate is getting more and more relevant, with the banks increasing their interest rates to sometimes, especially in Europe, we're not there yet in Cyprus, 5-6% is still a lot, but in Europe we're seeing 8-9% interest rates. Alternative finance either through blockchain or crypto or big data or fintechs in general, where you have more tech savvy. It's very common. It's becoming more common. Also, utilizing the stricter regulations that banks have on financing real estate, which is becoming even more headache nowadays, apart from the high cost. And the other thing that I wanted to also comment on what Nicola said before, don't forget that 3 years ago we were selling, during COVID, we were selling properties through videos and photos. So we were doing all this amazing effort as agents, as developers, as salespeople to make a transaction. And then we were stepping on wet signatures, face-to-face meetings in the authorities, and all this. So the government, again, is a vital element to support the digital change. The land registry, for example, should start accepting digital signatures. The planning authority, the VAT applications, everything, unfortunately, is handwritten and face-to-face. So change, again, needs to start from the government in order to propagate through our industry as well. So thank you.
Before, Nicolas also said, GPT, can you go to the land registry? Especially after the recent incidents at the land registry, it would be interesting to see GPT going there. We definitely need to see the digital transformation in the public sector, and I think it's long overdue. It's in the way with the CY login, the GovCY, and the signatures, but we better get there sooner than later. Now, last but not least, Angelos. Let's talk about users. In terms of adoption and implementation of PropTech solutions, how does the Cypriot market adopt and compare to other markets?
So Cyprus is really not doing that bad at all. And I know this is not the answer that most of you expected to hear, and I'm not even sure why. But I'll say that Cyprus is certainly far ahead of the curve, faster adopting technologies in construction tech and prop tech faster than Greece, Italy, and Portugal, certainly. Now, that being said, so certainly we are a leader in the southern European market. Now, that being said, we do have a long ways to go, right? The US is the leader in adopting these technologies. Europe, in general, is around 5 years behind the US on these trends, and change doesn't happen overnight. George mentioned it as well. The government needs to be involved. We need to change our culture, the way we build. We're not technologically adept yet to be there. However, we are seeing really, really good progress in this space. And a question that we always ask ourselves is, because of all the effort that's happening, is all of this worth it, right? Is innovation worth it? And there's a statistic that really stands out. The United Nations says that we need to be building 13,000 buildings a day, 13,000 new buildings a day, just to keep up with demand, right? If we put that in context, that's like building a city the size of New York every month for the next 40 years, just to keep up with demand. Our populations are growing, they are aging, and they are urbanizing. And the only answer to this, how do we do that, can only be with innovation, right? The alternative is very scary. A city without innovation, with all of this movement happening into cities, is a very scary thought. But I'm very happy to see the investment that's happening, both from VCs as well as from buyers in the space. It's growing really fast. Construction tech and prop tech went from zero to a $60 billion market in under 10 years. And it's expected to double in size by 2030. So it's, I think, in all of us to look into it, to think about it, to adopt it for our companies and also a better future.
Thank you very much. So to sum everything up, we've seen how the use of technology can make us more competitive, especially in business development and customer service. We've seen how data-driven decisions can actually aid investments and help us know where and when to invest. We've seen how alternative ways of investing are actually impacting Cyprus, and how the right use of tech in construction can reduce cost, and not only. And we've seen how the right technology can streamline processes and also make things more efficient, and that there's a big scene for VC right now. I mean, PropTech is one of the hottest spaces to invest in, and as you rightfully said, it will continue to do so. I would like to take this opportunity to thank you very much and thank the audience for listening. Our speakers will be available for networking to ask them whatever you want, or perhaps, book a deal with them, either if you want software, something to buy, or to join a big data analytics platform. Thank you very much. And now we're moving on to the next panel. Thank you.